just a video overview of this activity, data collection and assessing normality. All right, so click on it. What you're going to do is follow the, instructions that I'm about to show you, but it's a 10-point activity grade. It's referencing your final project data submission. All right, so we'll go back there. That's this one. I have it open, so I'll go to that separately. This activity is going to reference an old activity that we did back in Unit 1 called Assessing Normality. So go in there and find that one, click on it, and open the spreadsheet that you created. Right? So when you do that, I'll bring up mine here. You can go into if you did the examples or the solved examples or the assignment, it all should have the same stuff on your end. Mine obviously doesn't because this is the actual template for the assignment. So I'm going to go into solved examples and I'm going to grab all this stuff. And the whole idea is for us to determine whether we're dealing with a normal distribution for our daily collected data. Right? So what I'll do is off on the side here in the neighborhood of J, maybe K to give a little more space. I'll go with K. I'm going to type in assessing, normality. All right, we have our two variables, right? I can make that bold. It's a little title, so why not, right? We have our two variables. In my case, it's high temperature, low temperature. So let me grab this stuff here. Now it's a fairly wide table, so I think it might be a good idea to organize it vertically instead of horizontally like we've been doing. So I'm just going to copy this, bring it over, and pop it in here. All right, all the references are out of whack, but that's okay. In terms of the font, I have size 12 font here, but the rest of my table is in size 10 font, so I'm just going to dial this down a little bit just for consistency. All right, so well, actually what I should do is insert and slide it down. Get rid of this. This is data set 1, so what I'll do is I'll just reference cell B1, so equals B1, so it brings the title over, right? And then I'll do it down here, equals C1, that's my next variable, all right? And I'll just copy paste this a second time. We'll have to update all of our references, but that's not that tall of an order, so average, well, average what? Average B2 going on to the max B, all right? And again, if you're using Excel, you need to put a hard cap on that. So like 50 or whatever your last entry is, all right? Sample standard deviation, B2 to B. All right, lower bounds, upper bounds, we'll have to take care of that separately. But I'll take care of the things that are easy enough to take care of first. Basically the things that require the least amount of thinking. Oops. All right, so the number of values is the count. That's B2 to B. 183 values in my set. You should have a good amount, but definitely not anywhere near 183. All right. These two numbers should match. We're referencing different columns, but it's paired data. Well, not necessarily paired. It's two columns of data that are corresponding to the given dates or the dates that you collect data on. So you should have the same number of values in each column. All right. Now my lower bound, right? So if we're doing the 68% rule for the empirical rule, the lower bound is the mean minus 1 times the standard deviation, right? So my mean here is in L4. So L4 minus 1 times, you could put the 1 times in, but we didn't do that before because if you multiply something by 1, it doesn't change. The standard deviation is in L5, so L5. So if I copy this over to here, I could change the minus to a plus. My count values, again, it's referencing the wrong thing. So we want it to be referencing the appropriate column of information. Now my column only goes from, or it does go further than what's here. So I want to go from B2 to B. All right, same idea here. So that'll get me a count, and it's saying count if the value is less than or equal whatever I have in M8 and less than whatever I have in L8. So that'll give us the number of values in between, which is what we want. All right, so there's 132 values in between those two numbers. So as a percent, we're going to change that reference also. The N8 is the count, so it's updating some of it, just not all of it. Basically, the things with the dollar signs is having a hard time with, right? The B36 it's supposed to be the total number of values in the set. So we have 132 out of 183. That B36 is referencing a different spreadsheet. So I just want I want to change that to L, looks like an L2, oh, L3, sorry. Scroll down a little bit. All right, so L3. And I get a percentage of about 72-ish, give or take. We're gonna basically do all this stuff again. So I'm gonna copy paste. The only difference is we're going 2 standard deviations away from the mean and then 3 standard deviations away from the mean. So I'm gonna copy, paste. So minus 2 times, and then plus 2 times. I'm going to make sure my references are pointing to the right stuff. B2 to B, good. M9, L9, good. Percentage pointing to the L3, we're good there. All right. So then this one, oh, sorry, I wanted to copy paste because otherwise I have to update all the references too. So copy paste, then change the 2 to a 3, 2 to a 3, and everything else should update automatically. So I'm looking at something that's not too far off from being a normal distribution. If I'm in the neighborhood of 68%, 95, and 99.7, which these values are, all right, so I'm feeling pretty good that this is going to be approximately a normal distribution. So my conclusion, it is close to being a normal distribution, right? Oh, I didn't copy the conclusion for the next part. Right, I realized just belatedly that this is kind of overlapping here. So if you want, you can just kind of resize a little bit, just give a little extra. All right, so now I have to do this for my second variable, the low temperatures. So it's kind of like back to, I don't want to say square one, but we're referencing C as the column instead of B. And our, you know, we have to update corresponding references. So I'm just going to grab the first one here. We have L4, L5. It's obviously very different from what we have here. Actually, I'll grab the first 2. All right. So put that in here. So L4 goes to L16. L5 goes to L17. Yep. All right, same deal here. 16, 17. All right, now my counts, instead of, oh, I can pull those 2. Hold on one second. Put that in there. So my counts are not going to go from B2 to B anymore. They're going to go from C2 to C. The reference for M being M20 and L20, that's correct, so I don't have to worry about that. So let me get that, and that should be good. Got 130 values out of the 183. This one references still L3, but what I mentioned before was that the number of values for each variable should be the same, so I can leave that alone, right? So we're pretty good here. So same idea, just go down the line here and incorporate the multiplication 2 times, same idea here, 2 times, then do it again for the third, the 99.7 part. So this one is going to be 3 times. And that gets us about 100%. Now, and this is looking very similar. All right, we're in the neighborhood of 68, 95, 99.7 for these percentages. We're in the neighborhood of 68, 95, 99.7. So it is also close to being a normal distribution. All right, so the one thing that I would ask you to do at this point is create histograms for each of your columns of data as a visual way of representing that. So over here, I'm gonna get my high temperatures all the way down the line. Again, I have a lot more data than most of you. So insert, chart. We want histogram chart. We get some labels on there. So customize, chart title. The variable should be the high temperature. And then, so we're going to do that. We'll get rid of this for this one here. We don't need that. Horizontal axis title, that is the high temperature. And the vertical axis was frequency. All right. One thing I don't love, and I haven't figured out an easy way to handle this, is for whatever reason, wherever, well, actually, I think there might be a way to fix it, but you'll see how it put it all the way at the bottom. I don't want it at the bottom for readability purposes. I want to have it reasonably organized. So I got to drag it up. I think I might have just figured out a fix for that, but I'm going to test it out right now, and we'll all benefit from it, and hopefully I'm right. But I'm going to resize, put it in here, so I can see something that looks almost like a normal distribution. So that's pretty good. Let me try highlighting from bottom to top. Insert, chart. Again, we don't want the scatter, we want the histogram. And yeah, okay, so wherever you highlight last is where it's going to put that chart. All right, so I can update my axes. Vertical again is frequency. So now I can bring it over and I don't have to worry about dragging it up the entire spreadsheet. All right, so we learn together sometimes. There we go. Resize it, make it look nice and reasonably neat. All right, I want to line it up. I want it to be roughly the same size. Okay, so I got it to be exactly the same size. Positioning, let's see, I position this. Let me line it up with, yeah, pretty close to that first cell, and I'll do the same here. Yeah, there we go. Not too bad, and they both look reasonably normal. All right, and so that is the assessing normality activity for your daily data collection.